So parties, it is 2 o'clock now. I would like to start the proceedings. We still do not have a quorum, so please get seated and insert your card into the microphone. So thank you very much. Okay, we do have quorum, so I would like to start this afternoon session. As I said at the end of this morning, we will first look at the 2 remaining proposals. Then we will go for the ComRec, so the summary record of the meeting, number 11. And then we will go to the ComDocs, so the reports of the working and drafting groups, number 3, 4, and 5. And this will conclude our business of the committee. So now I would like to turn our attention to proposal 21. No, we had that. On 22, it is to transfer the species Amblyrhynchus cristatus, the Galapagos marine iguana, from Appendix 2 to Appendix 1. This proposal was submitted by Ecuador, so I give Ecuador the floor to introduce the proposal. Ecuador, you have the floor.
Gracias, señor presidente. Ecuador presenta la propuesta para transferir la especie Amblyrhynchus cristatus, conocida como la iguana marina de Galápagos, del apéndice 2 al apéndice 1. Esta acción se considera fundamental para asegurar la supervivencia de una especie endémica de las Islas Galápagos. Aunque la iguana marina está categorizada como vulnerable a nivel de especie, es necesario destacar que existen 11 agrupaciones poblacionales diferenciadas a nivel de subespecie. Varias de estas subespecies se encuentran clasificadas individualmente como en peligro y en peligro crítico. Estas poblaciones presentan un tamaño intrínsecamente pequeño y una alta vulnerabilidad. En particular, las subespecies que habitan en las islas Floriana, Española, Marchena y San Cristóbal cuentan con poblaciones efectivas alarmantemente reducidas. Estudios genéticos recientes han demostrado que estos tamaños poblacionales varían desde niveles críticos bajos hasta moderados. Las poblaciones de iguanas marina han experimentado reducciones extremas y fluctuaciones severas, principalmente debido a eventos periódicos como el fenómeno del Niño. Dichos eventos han causado mortalidades de hasta el 90% en ciertas colonias. Se anticipa que la frecuencia e intensidad de estos fenómenos aumentan a causa del cambio climático, lo que implica el riesgo de desaparición total de algunas subpoblaciones. Adicionalmente, la presencia de depredadores exóticos invasores, como gatos, ratas y perros, supone una amenaza constante para entre el 20 y el 30% de las poblaciones totales. La supervivencia de las crías en colonias afectadas es extremadamente baja. Frente a esta amenaza, Ecuador ha implementado numerosas acciones de control y erradicación a través de la Agencia de Bioseguridad de Galápagos y el Programa de Especies Invasoras del Parque Nacional Galápagos. El comercio, especialmente el ilícito, representa un peligro existencial para la especie. Desde 1959, Ecuador ha prohibido estrictamente la extracción y la exportación de iguanas marinas, sin permitir jamás la exportación comercial de ejemplares vivos. No obstante, persiste un comercio internacional, ilegal de mascotas, centrado principalmente en crías y juveniles, que son altamente valorados en el mercado negro, llegando a precios aproximados de $25,000 por ejemplar. Una de las amenazas más graves es el lavado de animales, mediante el uso indebido de permisos CITES. Desde 2013 se han reportado exportaciones de iguanas marinas declaradas como criados en cautividad por países que no forman parte del área de distribución, lo que afecta a la integridad del régimen del apéndice 2. Ecuador ha solicitado a los países importadores que no expidan permisos, ya que esto facilita actividades criminales. Además, la dificultad para identificar crías de distintas especies complica la protección de las poblaciones silvestres al disminuir el reclutamiento natural. La transferencia de la iguana marina de Galápagos al apéndice 1 es considerada la única medida efectiva para controlar las exportaciones de ejemplares supuestamente criados en cautiverio y frenar el tráfico internacional ilegal. Por ello, Ecuador hace un llamado a todas las partes para que apoyen esta propuesta, con el fin de proteger a la iguana marina de Galápagos de la amenaza que representa el comercio ilegal internacional. Muchas gracias.
Thank you, Ecuador. I now open the floor for comments from parties. I see Benin. Benin, you have the floor.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président. Nous tenons à remercier l'Équateur pour avoir préparé et présenté cette proposition qui a été analysée avec beaucoup d'attention au sein de la région Afrique. Et à l'issue de l'analyse des données qui ont été fournies, nous sommes arrivés à un consensus pour soutenir cette proposition de l'Équateur. Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Benin. I now have Tunisia.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. La Tunisie supporte pleinement la proposition de transférer l'iguane marine de l'annexe 2 à l'annexe 1 de la CITES.
Thank you. Now, the United States of America.
Thank you, Chair. The United States supports the transfer of the Galapagos marine iguana with its 11 subspecies to Appendix 1 in accordance with Article 2, Paragraph 1 of the Convention. Thank you.
Thank you, United States. European Union.
Thank you, Chair. I speak on behalf of the EU and its member states. We highly appreciate the efforts of Ecuador to protect its endemic wildlife, including marine iguanas, and we understand the desire to grant it the highest possible protection at international level. Being aware that Amblyrhynchus cristatus, with its 11 recognized subspecies, is endemic to the Galapagos Islands, we note that marine iguanas can be locally abundant, with an overall big population. The species indeed is subject to strong population fluctuations, mainly caused by climatic events, and has shown a certain ability to recover from severe declines. We therefore are not entirely convinced that the biological criteria for listing in Appendix 1 are met for the species, even though some of the subspecies have very small distribution ranges. Marine iguanas are listed in Appendix 2 since 1975, and since then, reported trade in live specimens is limited to an average of not more than 2 individuals annually. Documented illegal trade seems to be of low volume and is unlikely to have a detrimental effect on the wild population. We are therefore not convinced that the species is affected or may be affected by trade, as defined in Resolution Conf 924 as a precondition for listing in Appendix 1. However, we strongly share Ecuador's concerns regarding specific captive breeding claims, including on the legality of the breeding stock of specimens found in third countries. We believe that the review process under Resolution Conf 77 would be the most appropriate way to address these issues. Nevertheless, we agree that uplisting may aid to further strengthen to limit trade in potentially illegally sourced specimens, referring to the process under Resolution Conf 1210. We further acknowledge that Ecuador has strong measures in place to protect the species, including on reducing pressures from cats and dogs. Therefore, we will not block consensus if parties feel an uplisting will benefit the conservation of the species, acknowledging the efforts by the single range states to protect the species on the ground. Thank you.
Thank you, European Union. I now have Colombia.
Gracias, señor presidente. Colombia, Uruguay, Argentina, El Salvador, Panamá, Costa Rica, Brasil, Belice, Chile, Guatemala y Honduras desean expresar su apoyo a la propuesta 22 presentada por Ecuador para reforzar la protección de la iguana marina Amblyrhynchus cristatus y sus 11 subespecies. Queremos resaltar que estas son especies endémicas del archipiélago de Galápagos. Su distribución restringida implica que cualquier impacto negativo recae sobre poblaciones únicas e irreemplazables. La pérdida de individuos en estas especies endémicas no se puede compensar en ningún otro lugar del planeta. Reconocemos además el papel fundamental del país de origen, Ecuador, que ha demostrado un compromiso sólido con la protección y conservación de estas especies y con la integridad ecológica de las islas. Sin embargo, a pesar de estos esfuerzos, persisten presiones asociadas al tráfico internacional, incluyendo intentos de comercialización bajo supuestos esquemas de cría en cautiverio. En este punto es necesario subrayar la importancia del pie parental, la falta de mecanismos claros para verificar el origen legal y el linaje del stock reproductor. Ha permitido en algunos casos el lavado de individuos silvestres, presentándolos como si provinieran de establecimientos de cría. Dado que estas especies tienen poblaciones pequeñas, alta vulnerabilidad y ciclos de reproducción lentos, la extracción incluso de pocos individuos para abastecer pie parental no es viable ni sostenible. Por estas razones, la inclusión en el apéndice 1 es una medida indispensable. Fortalece la capacidad de Ecuador como país de origen, cierra la puerta al comercio internacional y elimina el riesgo de que la falta de claridad sobre el pie parental sea utilizada para justificar movimientos ilegales. Consideramos que estas propuestas, como un fundamento técnico fuerte, son proporcionadas y fundamentales para proteger a especies únicas en el mundo. E invitamos a las partes a apoyar a Ecuador en este esfuerzo de conservación. Gracias, señor presidente.
Thank you, Colombia. I now have Japan.
Thank you, Chair. Japan supports this proposal. Appendix 1 listing would also prevent captive-bred specimens produced at breeding facilities which is not registered under CITES from entering international trade, which we believe will contribute to ensuring the legality of captive-bred specimens. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Japan. Uganda.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, Uganda wishes to express gratitude to the government of Ecuador for submitting the proposal on the transfer of Galapagos marine iguanas from Appendix 2 to Appendix 1. Uganda notes the concerns raised by Ecuador regarding the ongoing illegal harvesting and trade and the need for concerted collaborative efforts to protect the species. Accordingly, Chair, Uganda strongly supports the proposal by Ecuador to transfer the Galapagos marine iguanas to Appendix 1. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I have 4 more parties I will take. So we have Senegal.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président. Le Sénégal appuie la proposition 22. Merci.
Thank you. Sudan.
Thank you, Chair. Sudan fully supports this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. Niger.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Le Niger appuie cette proposition.
And the last speaker is Dominican Republic.
Gracias, señor presidente. República Dominicana se une de manera íntegra a apoyar a Ecuador en esta propuesta.
Thank you. So before concluding, I would open the floor for any IGOs, NGOs who would wish to take the floor. I see WCS.
Thank you, Chair. WCS strongly supports this proposal from Ecuador to transfer the Galapagos marine iguana to Appendix 1 pursuant to Article 2 of the Convention. This is an iconic endemic of the Galapagos Islands and exemplifies the unique and irreplaceable ecological, evolutionary, and cultural significance of the species. This is also relevant for the next proposal. And although Ecuador has not authorized any exports of the marine iguana, there is evidence of illegal trade, particularly involving juveniles laundered as captive-bred animals in third countries. We call your attention to the scientific paper in Information Document 16. Also, we note the statement from one party that there's a low volume of reported illegal trade. Well, illegal trade is not usually reported, but there is significant illegal trade. There is not significant legal trade because there are no legal exports from Ecuador. The species is fully protected and also inhabits the Galapagos National Park and Marine Reserve, both UNESCO World Heritage Sites. We are convinced that Appendix 1 listing is critical to ensure the conservation of this iconic species and the land iguanas, and because the species should never be in international commercial trade, we urge parties to adopt this proposal and appreciate the consensus in the room. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, WCS. And last speaker, SSN.
Muchas gracias, presidente. Esta intervención es a nombre de SSN y otras 17 organizaciones. Aplaudimos el esfuerzo y la presentación de la propuesta de Ecuador y estamos animando y haciendo un llamado a todos los países parte de CITES para que se unan a apoyar esta tan importante propuesta. Ciertamente, como todos los países que ya hablaron y mis colegas han dicho, no existe comercio legal con esta especie. Está prohibido el comercio legal desde 1959 por las leyes del Ecuador. Especie endémica. Nuevamente estamos enfrente de una especie endémica que es especialmente requerida para el mercado internacional de mascotas de especies raras. Esta especie icónica nunca ha contado con permisos oficiales y legales de exportación de parte de Ecuador. De tal suerte que por eso es muy importante que todos los países parte de CITES que cuenten con ejemplares de iguanas marinas de Amblyrhynchus cristatus puedan hacer la verificación del origen legal de los planteles fundadores, de lo que dicen que se produce en cautiverio, que no es así. Invitamos a los países parte a que revisen también el documento informativo número 16 que ha sido escrito por diferentes miembros del grupo de especialistas de iguanas de la UICN y otros expertos y que da mucha información y mucha luz sobre los métodos usados por los traficantes internacionales, cómo es que se llevan a cabo las capturas ilegales de los juveniles en las Islas Galápagos.
SSN, can you please conclude?
Sí, presidente. Pedimos el apoyo para esta propuesta de parte de todos. Gracias.
Thank you. So I would conclude that proposal CoP20, Prop 22, to transfer Amblyrhynchus cristatus from Appendix 2 to Appendix 1 was accepted by consensus. So with this, we turn our attention to COP Prop 23 on Conolophus SPP, the Galapagos land iguanas. It's a proposal to transfer that genus from Appendix 2 to Appendix 1, and it also has been submitted by Ecuador. So Ecuador, I give you the floor to introduce the proposal.
Gracias, señor presidente. Ecuador presenta la propuesta para transferir el género Conolophus, que comprende las iguanas terrestres de Galápagos, del apéndice 2 al apéndice 1. Esta propuesta abarca 3 especies, Conolophus subcristatus, Conolophus martae y Conolophus pallidus. Estas iguanas son endémicas de Galápagos y por naturaleza cuentan con un área de distribución muy limitada. La iguana rosada, Conolophus martae, se encuentra clasificada como en peligro crítico y su única población silvestre está compuesta por aproximadamente 192 individuos maduros, restringidos a menos de 25 kilómetros cuadrados en el flanco noreste de Volcán Wolf, en las Islas Isabela. Por su parte, la iguana terrestre de Santa Fe, Conolophus pallidus, catalogada como vulnerable, cuenta con una población de entre 3.500 y 4.000 adultos maduros, ocupando exclusivamente la isla Santa Fe en un área inferior a 40 kilómetros cuadrados. Incluso Conolophus subcristatus, presente en la mayoría de las islas del archipiélago, muestran 12 subpoblaciones, fragmentadas y sin conexión entre sí. La mayoría de estas poblaciones son reducidas, siendo la mayor apenas superior a los 5.000 individuos maduros. Además, su incapacidad para nadar limita o imposibilita el intercambio entre islas. Las iguanas terrestres de Galápagos son altamente susceptibles a factores externos, lo que incrementa su riesgo de extinción. Se estima que la población de Conolophus subscriptatus ha disminuido al menos un 30% en las últimas 3 generaciones, aproximadamente 69 años, mientras que Conolophus pallidus ha sufrido una reducción de al menos del 50%. Si bien una de las amenazas son los mamíferos exóticos invasores, como gatos y ratas, Ecuador ha implementado numerosas acciones para su control y erradicación a través de la Agencia de Bioseguridad de Galápagos y el Programa de Especies Invasoras del Parque Nacional Galápagos. Actualmente existe una amenaza latente, el comercio internacional ilegal de mascotas. Este riesgo se manifiesta mediante el lavado de animales con el uso de permisos CITES. A pesar de que Ecuador no ha exportado legalmente especímenes vivos y la caza y colecta están prohibidas desde 1959, la base de datos de las CITES reporta 442 individuos vivos importados por otros países, la mayoría declarados como criados en cautividad. Algunos países fuera de la distribución han emitido permisos de exportación para Conolophus, lo cual pone en entredicho la integridad del sistema del apéndice 2. El tráfico se enfoca en crías y juveniles, ya que son más fáciles de ocultar y difíciles de distinguir de otras especies o de ejemplares presuntamente criados en cautividad. La transferencia del género Conolophus al apéndice 1 es indispensable para ejercer un control más estricto sobre las exportaciones declaradas como criados en cautividad y poner freno al tráfico internacional ilegal que amenaza a estas poblaciones ya severamente reducidas y fragmentadas. Por ello, Ecuador insta a todas las partes a apoyar esta propuesta con el fin de proteger las iguanas terrestres de Galápagos del comercio ilegal internacional. Muchas gracias.
Thank you, Ecuador. I open the floor to parties. I see New Zealand.
Thank you, Chair. New Zealand supports the proposal to list the 3 endemic species of Galapagos land iguanas of the genus Conolophus in Appendix 1. We were struck by the amazing parallel in the trade pathways and timing of the international movements of these species that are described in the proposal, and that of the endemic Fijian banded iguana Brachylophus vitiensis, which was the subject of notification 2025 number 81. In both cases, these endemic species have not been legally exported from their range state. Their first documented international trade on the CITES trade database was surprisingly between Mali and Switzerland in 2010, and then on to Uganda. The Fijian iguana has since been exported to a number of other states, which should not be accepting Appendix 1 specimens from non-registered breeding facilities. An Appendix 1 listing of these 3 Conolophus iguanas will help to protect these remarkable and iconic endemic species by preventing the international trade of captive specimens descended from illegally sourced original founder stock. Thank you.
Thank you, New Zealand. I have Benin.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Le Bénin soutient cette proposition de l'Équateur.
Thank you, Benin. Senegal.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président. Le Sénégal également, au même titre que le Bénin, soutient cette proposition. Merci.
Thank you. Dominican Republic.
Gracias, presidente. República Dominicana, al igual que la propuesta anterior, apoya al hermano país de Ecuador ante esta propuesta.
Colombia.
Gracias, señor presidente. Colombia, Uruguay, Argentina, El Salvador, Panamá, Costa Rica, Brasil, Belice, Chile, Guatemala y Honduras desean expresar su apoyo a la propuesta 23 de Ecuador para reforzar la protección de las iguanas terrestres del género Conolophus y sus 3 especies, Subcristatus, Pallidus y Martae, todas ellas estrictamente endémicas del archipiélago de Galápagos. Por su distribución limitada y poblaciones reducidas, cualquier extracción o presión ilegal tiene impactos irreversibles. Como país de origen, Ecuador ha realizado esfuerzos destacados en su conservación, pero persisten riesgos asociados al tráfico internacional y a intentos de justificar movimientos bajo esquemas de cría en cautiverio sin trazabilidad suficiente. Queremos resaltar la importancia del pie parental, pues la falta de verificación confiable puede facilitar el ingreso de individuos silvestres a supuestos programas de cría, lo cual representa una amenaza seria para especies de reproducción lenta. Por estas razones, la inclusión de esta medida técnica y necesaria fortalece al país de origen, previene el comercio y reduce el riesgo de lavado de especímenes. Invitamos a las partes a apoyar esta propuesta de Ecuador para asegurar la protección de estas especies únicas. Muchas gracias.
Thank you. European Union.
Thank you, Chair. I speak on behalf of the EU and its member states. We appreciate the efforts of Ecuador to protect its endemic wildlife, including Galapagos land iguanas, and understand the desire to grant the endemic fauna the highest possible protection at international level. We agree that the biological criteria for Appendix 1 are likely met for all 3 species in the genus. In particular, Conolophus mate and Pallidus have very small populations and restricted distributions. We are aware of a few recent cases of likely illegal trade, including an unsuccessful attempt to import Conolophus subcristatus into the EU. Consequently, and due to the lack of evidence for legal exports of pre-convention stocks, the EU Scientific Review Group issued a far-reaching negative opinion in 2020 for all imports of Conolophus subcristatus from all countries to the EU. As known cases of illegal trade involve only a small number of mainly juvenile specimens, it remains uncertain whether current and anticipated levels of trade adversely affect wild population that can be locally abundant. Nevertheless, these cases indicate a certain demand for these endemic species. Therefore, we support uplisting of the genus to Appendix 1. We recognize that main threats to the wild population are linked to effects of climate change and invasive species. We therefore congratulate Ecuador for the significant efforts already undertaken to conserve these species, including measures to control invasive species. In this context, the proposed uplisting should be understood as an acknowledgement of these ongoing commitments, which are most crucial to effectively protect the species. Thank you.
Thank you, European Union. I now have Japan.
Thank you, Chair. Japan supports this proposal. As with Proposal 22, we believe that Appendix 1 listing will also contribute to ensuring the legality of captive bred specimens. Thank you.
Thank you. United States.
Thank you, Chair. The United States also supports the transfer of Galapagos land iguanas. The inclusion of the 3 species of the genus Conolophus in Appendix 1 would facilitate stronger international cooperation and oversight and reduce the likelihood of Galapagos land iguanas becoming established in the illegal international pet trade, an outcome that has resulted in population declines of a number of narrow-range endemic reptiles. Thank you.
Thank you. I think it's clear in which direction this is going, so I'm closing the list now, and I would like to invite Zimbabwe.
Thank you, Chair. Zimbabwe supports CoP20 Proposal 2023 to include the species in Appendix 1 as submitted and presented by Ecuador. Thank you.
Thank you. Uganda.
Thank you, Chair. Uganda wishes to join the rest of the parties in congratulating Ecuador for submitting this important proposal. Uganda strongly supports the listing of the Galapagos land iguanas in Appendix 1. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Now, Ethiopia.
Thank you, Chair. I will be brief. In light of the scientific justification provided, Ethiopia strongly supports transferring of this endemic species from CITES Appendix 2 to 1. Thank you.
Comoros.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Comme disait le collègue tout à l'heure, le Comores soutient fortement la proposition de l'Équateur. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you. Canada.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Le Canada soutient également la proposition. Merci.
Thank you. Mali.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Le Mali soutient également cette proposition de l'Équateur. Merci.
Thank you. Fiji.
Thank you, Chair. Fiji supports Ecuador's proposal to transfer the genus Conolophus, comprising the 3 species of Galapagos land iguanas, from Appendix 2 to Appendix 1 in recognition of their restricted range, ecological significance, and increasing vulnerability to illicit collection and international trafficking. Fiji has similarly witnessed illegal international trade involving its own Appendix 1 listed species, the Fijian iguana and the banded iguana, which have been unlawfully removed from their native habitats and detected in private collections and zoological facilities in other countries. Chair, strengthening protections for Conolophus species will therefore contributing to global efforts to curb illegal trade in island endemic reptiles and reinforce the collective responsibility to safeguard this irreplaceable species. We thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Fiji. Tunisia.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. La Tunisie, comme les autres pays, donc soutient la proposition 23 de l'Équateur. Merci.
Thank you. And the last one is Iran. You have the floor.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Iran also aligning with other countries would like to support the proposal. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So we have unanimous support for this proposal. I would like to invite IGO, NGO to take the floor if they wish to do so. I see Pro-Wildlife.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I speak on behalf of Pro-Wildlife and 15 more observer organizations. We call on all CITES parties to support this important proposal, which would significantly impede future trade in animals of questionable origin. Conolophus is endemic to the Galapagos Islands, and no specimen has ever been legally exported for commercial purposes. In light of the ongoing illegal activities and an increasing international trade, CITES notification 2025/063 was published in May this year on request by Ecuador, requesting parties to not issue export or import permits for any Galapagos iguana without prior consultation with Ecuador. In this context, we also applaud the EU for the already mentioned negative opinion since 2020 on importing Conolophus subcristatus from all countries and all sources due to serious concerns about legality of those animals. INFDOC 16 shows an alarming recent increase in international trade in these species, with a long-known reptile trafficker, now based in East Africa, acting as the mastermind and hub. For instance, within 2 years, at least 23 Conolophus subcristatus were recently shipped to a private zoo in India, according to official customs data, 9 of them even after Ecuador's notification was published. Thank you.
Thank you. So I conclude that proposal CoP20, Prop 23, to transfer the genus Conolophus from Appendix 2 to Appendix 1 is accepted by consensus. So parties, we are almost done with species proposals, but only almost. We still have one to go in the ComDoc, but before we go to this ComDoc, I would like to open the floor for comments on the summary record 11, so on document COM20, COM1, Rec 11. I open the floor for any comments on that document. I see the United States.
Thank you, Chair. On page 4, under Prop 24, sorry, 25, in the first paragraph that starts with Argentina, if you skip down to the second sentence, it says, the United States of America was prepared to accept. I'd like to strike through was prepared to accept. And I'd like to replace that with opposed the proposal, comma, however, noted that if the parties adopted the, and then it continues with the rest of the sentence, inclusion of the genus, the genera, Crotalus and Cisturis in Appendix 2, and then we get to but believed, and I'd like to cross through but believed as well. So I can reread the whole sentence in its new form.
Yes, please do so.
Okay. The United States of America opposed the proposal, comma, however, noted that if the parties adopted the inclusion of the genera Crotalus and Cisturis in Appendix 2, national monitoring of trade over the next intersessional period would be a more productive approach. Thank you.
Okay, I think we got that. Thank you very much. Now I have Japan.
Thank you, Chair. Japan would like to delete one sentence on page 2 under Agenda 114 in the fourth paragraph, beginning with consensus. The last sentence, which reads, Zimbabwe indicated that amendment proposed by Japan to Section G were not agreed by the African elephant range states. And Japan requests to delete this sentence. This is because we should have requested to take floor yesterday during the session at committee, but Japan did not propose any amendment to Section G during the first session on this item. Therefore, we just supported the original annotation with the minor amendment by the US. Therefore, we would like to delete this sentence. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Japan. I now have Niger.
Merci bien, Monsieur le Président. Merci également pour ce compte rendu auquel nous souhaiterons apporter quelques précisions, puisque après avoir examiné le compte rendu, nous nous sommes rendus compte qu'il ne reflète pas fidèlement les discussions sur plusieurs points. Et nous souhaiterons apporter quelques précisions et quelques rectifications. Monsieur le Président, au niveau de la page 2, page 2, quatrième paragraphe, la dernière ligne du quatrième paragraphe, qui commence par le Kenya, il a été mentionné que le Kenya, avec l'appui du Bénin, du Niger et du Sénégal, souhaite verser au compte rendu en ce qui concerne l'alinéa B, que si un accord a été trouvé en vue de supprimer la référence à la résolution dans la notation, c'est-à-dire c'est à condition que la définition de l'expression destinataire approprié et acceptable soit celle qui figure dans la résolution COP 11.20, rêve COP18. Nous comptons apporter une modification à ce paragraphe, à cette phrase. Si vous le permettez, Monsieur le Président, je m'en vais vous faire lecture de notre proposition. Le Kenya, avec l'appui du Bénin, du Niger et du Sénégal, indique que, d'après le consensus trouvé, la renonciation à inclure la définition des destinataires appropriés et acceptables a été, à l'alinéa B, était conditionnée à une déclaration formelle versée au compte rendu des pays dont les populations d'éléphants sont inscrites à l'annexe 2, en ce sens que l'expression destinataire approprié et acceptable doit être interprétée conformément à la résolution COP 11.20, rêve COP18. Donc voilà ce que nous comptons apporter à cette phrase comme modification. et tout en indiquant que donc, les parties concernées n'ont pas fait cette déclaration. Donc nous demandons à ce que cette déclaration soit versée dans le compte rendu. En ce terme, cette déclaration, nous la formulons comme telle. Les États de l'aire de répartition confirment que les exportations d'éléphants vivants des populations inscrites à l'annexe 2 seront conduites conformément au paragraphe B de la notation A10 relative aux éléphants d'Afrique et le paragraphe 1 de la résolution CONV 11.20 rêve COP18 qui définit les termes destinataires appropriés et acceptables pour les éléphants d'Afrique. Donc voilà, Monsieur le Président, ce que nous souhaitons apporter comme modification. Merci.
Niger, we are not quite clear where you want to have what change. Could you please repeat only the changes you want to make and tell us exactly where you want to have them introduced?
Le changement que nous souhaiterons apporter à partir de la page 2, paragraphe 4, troisième ligne, dernière phrase du quatrième paragraphe, c'est-à-dire de cette page. Le Kenya, où ça commence par le Kenya, avec l'appui du Bénin, du Niger et du Sénégal. Donc nous supprimons souhaite verser au compte rendu et on le remplace par indique que d'après le consensus trouvé, la renonciation à inclure la définition des destinataires appropriés et acceptables à l'alinéa B était conditionnée à une déclaration formelle versée au compte rendu des pays dont la population d'éléphants sont inscrites à l'annexe 2, en ce sens que l'expression destinataire approprié et acceptable doit être interprétée conformément à la résolution CONF.1120 rêve COP18. Voilà donc le changement que nous comptons apporter.
So I would like to repeat what we understood, what should be changed in that sentence. So we have in Kenya supported by Benin, Niger, and Senegal, indicated following the consensus reached, that the definition of a destination, appropriate destination, should be according to Resolution 1120 Rev COP 18. Is that correct, Niger?
Oui, Monsieur le Président, si vous me permettez. Jusqu'à le consensus trouvé, c'est correct, mais on a ajouté la renonciation, donc que d'après le consensus trouvé, la renonciation à inclure la définition. Donc, puis vient la suite, telle que vous l'avez dit.
Okay, just to be sure, can you please repeat the change in French slowly so that my colleague, French-speaking colleague, can capture this?
Avec plaisir, Monsieur le Président. Donc, le Kenya, avec l'appui du Bénin, du Niger et du Sénégal, indique que d'après le consensus trouvé à la rénonciation, à inclure la définition des destinataires appropriés et acceptables. À l'alinéa B, était conditionné à une déclaration formelle versée au compte rendu, point. Donc des pays versés au compte rendu, donc des pays dont les populations d'éléphants sont inscrites à l'annexe 2. En ce sens que l'expression destinataire approprié et acceptable doit être interprétée conformément à la résolution CONF 11.20 REV COP 18. Voilà la fin de la modification.
Okay, I will try to read that out so that everyone is clear what is being proposed. So we would change that last sentence in paragraph 4 to read, Kenya, supported by Benin, Niger, and Senegal, indicated that following the consensus reached to withdraw the inclusion of the definition of appropriate and acceptable destination in paragraph B was that it was conditional on a formal declaration noted in the summary record by the affected range states that the definition for appropriate and acceptable destination should be interpreted as defined in Resolution CONF 1120 Rev COP 18. Okay, I see Niger nodding, so that's what Niger would want to have changed in that paragraph. I now give the floor to Senegal.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président. Je souhaite aussi apporter quelques modifications et clarifications par rapport au compte rendu. Dans le document de compte rendu, à la page 2 toujours, je pense que c'est au 8e paragraphe, là où on dit le Kenya repris en écho par l'Afrique du Sud. Je ne sais pas si vous retrouvez ça. Le Kenya repris en écho par l'Afrique du Sud, le Bénin et le Sénégal souhaitent indiquer qu'il n'y a pas eu de consensus sur le libellé de la phrase finale de l'annotation. Nous souhaitons apporter une modification à ça parce que ce n'est pas exactement ça qui a été dit. Je peux vous donner lecture de ce qu'on veut modifier. Le Sénégal, soutenu par le Bénin et le Niger, indique qu'il y a eu un consensus
pour remplacer spécimens par parties et produits dérivés. À la fin de la réunion des pays de l'aire de répartition, l'Afrique du Sud indique que le consensus n'a pas pu être trouvé sur le libellé de la phrase finale de l'annotation. Le Kenya précise que la majorité souhaitait remplacer spécimens par parties et produits dérivés. Je peux répéter si vous voulez.
Yes, please do so. And just for me, in what paragraph are you? It starts how? Okay. Yes, I got it.
Ce paragraphe commençait par le Kenya, repris en écho par l'Afrique du Sud.
Okay, you can read out the change now. I'm there.
D'accord. Le Sénégal, soutenu par le Bénin et le Niger, indique qu'il y a eu un consensus pour remplacer spécimens par parties et produits dérivés à la fin de la réunion des pays de l'aire de répartition. Point. L'Afrique du Sud indique que le consensus n'a pas pu être trouvé sur le libellé de la phrase finale de l'annotation. Le Kenya précise que la majorité souhaitait remplacer spécimens par parties et produits dérivés.
Okay, so in the fifth paragraph from the bottom up, you wish to change that to say Senegal, supported by Benin and Niger, indicated that consensus was reached to replace specimen with parts and derivatives at the end of the meeting of the range states. Full stop. Then South Africa indicated that consensus was not reached on the wording of the final sentence of the annotation, full stop, and then Kenya specified that the majority wanted to replace specimens with parts and derivatives.
Nous continuons aussi, si vous avez fini, on a une autre préoccupation.
Are you in agreement with what I read out? Is that it?
Oui,
okay.
c'est bien ça. C'est bien ça que je... L'autre préoccupation porte sur l'avis à la demande du Botswana et du Sénégal. Le secrétariat nous a donné une réponse qui nous a amené à aller dans le consensus. Mais ce consensus-là, nous avons regardé encore de plus près les explications du secrétariat, mais nous ne sommes pas très convaincus que ce que nous voulions rendre plus difficile, c'est-à-dire le commerce des éléphants hors de l'Afrique, est reflété dans les explications du secrétariat. Ce que nous demandons au secrétariat aujourd'hui, tout à l'heure, c'est de nous dire pour les deux possibilités. Par exemple, si on laisse spécimens ou parties et produits dérivés, quelles sont les possibilités de transférer les éléphants hors de l'Afrique et dans quelles conditions?
Thank you. Senegal, we are not going to reopen the debate on this matter. We are only looking at what has been said on this topic in the meeting. If you have concerns with what we have been deciding here, you will have to open it in plenary. And if you would want to have a consultation with the Secretariat and ask the questions you are asking now, you can do that bilaterally after the meeting, okay? Because here we are only looking at what has been said in the meeting, okay? Sénégal.
Je suis tout à fait d'accord. On pourra, s'il le faut, réouvrir ça en plénière. Merci.
Thank you. I now have Zambia.
Thank you, Chair. Appreciating the proposed amendments, but I think we are looking at records of what was discussed. And we appreciate your comment that we are not reopening this matter, because I think we did reach consensus yesterday. And we are looking at the record, which we believe is exactly what was discussed. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Zambia. Are there any other amendments proposed on this document than the ones that have been read out by Niger and Senegal? Okay, so I take it that CoP20, COM1, Rec 11 was accepted by the committee with the amendments made by Kenya. You have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. I think the record should also indicate that Kenya later indicated that the original text we are referring to is the text as agreed when the four populations were first placed under the annotation, not the original text of what was submitted to this COP.
Can you please tell me where you want to have an addition to what, so that we are clear what you are referring to?
It is the second paragraph of 114 on proposals to amend the Appendix 1 and 2, the paragraph that begins with Zimbabwe reported. And so it is on subsection F, for which the original text in annotation A10 was maintained. That is original text of A10 as agreed when the four populations were first placed in the annotation. Noting that the original annotation was annotation 2. So that is clear, is not what was included when the range states discussed during the African Elephant Dialogue meeting. Thank you.
Can you repeat that and tell me exactly where you want to have it inserted?
Chair, if we could go to this last part of that paragraph, that reads subsection F, for which the original text in annotation A10, annotation 10, as originally agreed to when the four populations were first placed in the annotation, was maintained.
Okay, can you read it out again? We haven't been able to capture it yet fully.
Chair, you asking we read again?
Yes, please.
If I can pick from subsection F, for which the original text in annotation 10, as initially agreed when the four populations were first placed under the annotation. Then continue was maintained.
Okay, so we captured that. Do we now have all amendments to this summary record? Okay, so the committee accepts CoP20 COM1 Rec 11 as amended by the United States, Japan, Niger, Senegal, and Kenya. So thank you very much. We now move to the report of the working group we struck on Boswellia. So it is COP20, COM1, 3. And I take it that the chair of that working group, Switzerland, will be introducing that COMDOC. So Switzerland, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. We had 2 meetings and some mail exchange and very constructive inputs and discussions. The present range states expressed their views and concerns, and we have taken this into considerations by redrafting the decisions. As it was not clear for some parties, I would like to mention again that decisions describe the tasks for the coming period. The revised decisions are intended to relieve the Secretariat, which can focus more on facilitation and supportive coordination than implementation. And with the revised decisions, responsibility for organizing an in-person Boswellia meeting is transferred to an organization yet to be named, although various interested organizations have already come forward as organizers, and voices have also been raised in favor of hosting the meeting. An in-person meeting offers an opportunity to engage in discussions among range exporting, transit and importing states and experts on Boswellia species in international trade. In the working group, range states expressed concerns regarding the listing of Boswellia species, and it should be emphasized once again that the in-person meeting is not meant to put pressure on range states to list their species, but rather of having the opportunity to exchange information, identify gaps and recognize where further research is needed, and last but not least, to reach a conclusion as to what threats Boswellia species face and how to proceed from there. So I don't know how you want to proceed, Chair. Should I read out the draft decisions? They're quite long.
Thank you, Switzerland. No, I don't think we need to read them out. We have the document up for quite a while, so parties have had the possibility to look at them. I would rather propose that we go through these decisions, decision by one, so that every party can then make their comments, if they have any, on these decisions when we go through the document. So that's the way I would like to proceed. So we have the new the decision directed to the Secretariat 20WW, and I would open the floor for any comments from parties on that decision. I don't see anybody asking for the floor, so we take it that the committee accepts that decision. Then we have decision directed to parties, intergovernmental organizations, non-governmental organizations, commercial traders, and interested stakeholders, in brackets organizer. It's 20XX. If you have any comments on that decision, you can take the floor now. I don't see anybody asking for the floor, so then I would like to go to the decision 20YY, directed to range states of Boswellia SPP. If you have any comments on that decision. So this is accepted as well. Then we have 20ZZ, directed to the Plans Committee. And the last one, 20AA, directed to the Standing Committee. Okay, so I would conclude that in relation to CoP20 Doc 94 on Boswellia trees, Boswellia SPP, the committee agrees to the draft decisions as contained in CoP20 COM13, and also agrees to the deletion of the decisions 19241 and 19242. Okay, thank you very much. Now we turn our attention to document COP20 COM14. It's the report of the working group on Brazilwood, Boswellia equinata, and I would like to give the floor to Canada, the chair of this working group, to introduce that document. So, Canada, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. This working group had 29 parties with close to 70 delegates participate. We held 5 regular meetings plus a drafting group, which represented over 10 hours of deliberation, and I thank everyone in their cooperation and willingness to engage in dialogue. I'm very pleased that we were able to come to a consensus on a path forward. I will begin with document 97. Boswellia equinata is an endangered species that has been targeted by illegal logging for decades. First listed in the CITES in 2007, harvest has been illegal in Brazil since 1993, and there is concern that stockpiles are being used as a method to launder timber to allow it to enter the legal market. Urgent action is needed to conserve this species. As such, the working group has come up with an ambitious set of decisions, and we urge parties to fully implement these decisions. As an essential next step that we've agreed on is cooperation through CITES to create a harmonized approach to traceability and to support efforts to conserve the species and reduce demand. I will take you through the main points of these decisions. 20AA requests parties to provide information about current traceability systems, conduct assessments of their domestic stockpiles, including those held by private businesses, and move towards a harmonized approach to enhance traceability, as well as to closely scrutinize trade in this species through increased due diligence and to engage in activities to reduce demand. 20BB asks the Secretariat to compile and share information from parties, to support committee work, and to undertake a study that will explore ways to develop harmonized systems, a harmonized approach to traceability. 20CC requests the Plants Committee inform this study to develop a standard conversion factor to assess the number of boughs that can be produced by stockpiles, and to study potential source codes that could apply to non-wild origin of Boswellia. 20DD asks the Standing Committee to make recommendations at COP21 regarding establishing a harmonized traceability system for this species and to support initiatives to reduce demand. In 20EE, we recognize and appreciate the many interested partners in the conservation of the species, and we have identified priorities for research, collaboration, and funding that parties and other stakeholders are urged to support. While these decisions may seem ambitious, we do consider them necessary to protect this vitally important species, both for Brazil and for musicians worldwide. It is understood that additional resources are required for many of these decisions, but as these decisions are non-binding, we are comfortable with this path forward, and we encourage parties to implement them as soon as they are able to do so. Regarding the proposal, I will now move to the recommended amendment to Proposal 46, which is to keep the species in Appendix 2 with an amended annotation. This working group recognized the concerns of people who travel with instruments made from Brazilwood, and we reached a consensus where low-risk, non-commercial trade is exempt from CITES permit requirements when transported for specific purposes. It's worth noting that, as always, the burden of proof is on the person transporting this material. There are two main items I wanted to raise. First is that we are setting a precedent by including purpose-based exemptions in an annotation, where enforcement agents, rather than management authorities, will make the determination as to whether the use is exempted. Because of this, we included a decision in '97 for parties to monitor this trade and raise any issues with the appropriate committee. We also invite the Annotations Working Group established through Document 103 to consider ways to enhance standard application of this annotation. Second, and most importantly, is the last sentence in this annotation includes a zero export quota for all trade in wild source specimens for commercial use. This includes re-export, and it applies to any specimens and stockpiles harvested after February 2007, when the species was first listed. So stockpiles harvested after 2007 can still be traded and used domestically and turned into finished products, which can be transported internationally if they meet the exemption requirements. If it can be proven that this material is pre-convention, specifically source code O, then both commercial and non-commercial international trade is allowed with the appropriate permits. The working group was of the view that this is an appropriate balance between the urgent need to protect this endangered species in the wild and the reality of music instruments frequently crossing borders without posing a conservation threat. And should any parties have concerns with the zero export quota, I would remind them that this species fully meets the listing criteria for Appendix 1 and is being retained in Appendix 2 primarily due to the practical challenges related to cross-border movement of musical instruments, domestic implementation challenges from an Appendix 1 listing, and concerns that Appendix 1 may not reduce illegal logging without traceability measures. In closing, I urge parties to support these decisions and the amended annotation, which will enhance traceability and reduce trade in this irreplaceable endemic species. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Canada, and thank you for your hard work on this. It is very much appreciated. So I would like to give the floor to Brazil now.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to make a general intervention for accountability purposes. As stated during my first intervention here in Committee 1, Brazil will always consider dialogue and consensus as the most constructive and effective means to address complex challenges. In this spirit, and mindful of all technical elements present throughout the rich and substantive discussions held within the work group on Brazilwood, we revisited our proposal internally and are ready to show flexibility. We believe this new set of draft decisions are essential not only to strengthen conservation efforts for Brazilwood, but also to recognize cultural value, ensuring that its protection goes hand in hand with the continued conservation of the species. We thank the chair of the working group, Eileen Duncan, from Canada, for her amazing work, which helped to achieve consensus among parties that attend the group. We also thank the parties that attend the group for the constructive dialogue and ask all other parties to support this proposal. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brazil. European Union.
Thank you, Chair. The EU and its member states like to thank Canada for the excellent sharing of the working group and all working group members, especially Brazil, for the good and constructive work. We fully support the package result of the working group on the listing proposal and the draft decisions in Working Document 97, which is a good compromise agreed by the working group members. It strikes a good balance between the need to strengthen the protection of the species through reinforced traceability while allowing musicians to transport the bows. We have one minor editorial point to make, but we will raise that in the decision if you would like to go through them. If you like to make us a comment now, we can do that as well. Thank you.
Thank you. I had planned to go through the document decision by decision to be sure that we capture everything if there is anything to be raised. So that's how I will proceed now. So I would like to open now the discussion on first the draft decisions as contained in this document. And I would start with Decision 20AA directed to parties, in particular source, transit and destination parties for Boswellia echinata. I see the United States.
Thank you, Chair. We have one minor edit it's on page 2 of the document. Paragraph capital D at the top of the page. And I think in the working group we established this, or we just talked about this, but I think the document still retained the word established in this sentence where it says the harmonized approach that will be established by the Standing Committee and Plants Committee, but the word recommended would be better there because that's the role, a better word for the role that the Plants Committee would take. Thanks. And Standing Committee. Thank you.
Thank you, United States. I think that can be agreed. So I then move to Decision 20BB, directed to the Secretariat. Then to 20CC, directed to the Plants Committee, European Union.
Thank you. 20CC, paragraph C, refers to draft decisions 20AA and 20EE, paragraph A, Roman 1. In paragraph 20EEA, there is no Roman 1, so the Roman 1 can be struck out. Thank you.
Thank you. Then we can go to 20DD, directed to the Standing Committee. United States.
Thank you, Chair. I think there might be a typographical error in paragraph A, little I, and it says at the 21st meeting, and it's referring to the Standing Committee. I think that should be 81. Thank you.
Correct. I think the Standing Committee is much further in its enumeration than the COP, so absolutely correct. I have Canada.
Thank you, Chair. Apologies for the lack of clarity there. It's referring to the 21st Conference of the Parties. So the Standing Committee is intending to take this work to be providing recommendations at the 21st meeting. So I appreciate the opportunity to clarify that. Thanks.
So it would read at the 21st meeting of the COP Conference of the Parties, right?
Correct, with the first little I being time-bound towards the 21st meeting, and the second little I not being time-bound in case any other activities take a bit longer. Thank you.
Thank you. Now it's clear. Australia.
Thank you, Chair.
With that same paragraph, we think we might just need a small addition. So at the 21st meeting of the Conference of the Party, report on the creation.
I don't see anybody disagreeing, so I think we can change that as well. So it would read, at the 21st meeting of the Conference of the Party, report on the creation of a harmonized approach. So, thank you. Then we would move to 20EE, directed to parties, intergovernmental organizations, non-governmental organizations, commercial traders, music industry, and interested stakeholders. Okay, I think we can, in that case, in relation to these decisions, I think we have clarity. I would like now to invite observers to give their comments on these decisions. I have the League of American Orchestras.
Thank you, Chair. I'm pleased to offer the following brief comments on behalf of the 90 global music organizations included in Information Document 35, reflecting on both the decisions and the revised annotation. We're grateful that Brazil and the working group parties acknowledged the concerns regarding travel for musicians and performing ensembles, and sought a policy solution that would prevent an extreme and in some cases insurmountable permit burden for musicians and CITES management authorities alike. An Appendix 2 listing with a clear permit exemption for non-commercial activity provides the legal certainty needed for string players across all genres to continue to share their music across the globe. Bows made over more than 200 years are resold during their long lifespan, decreasing the demand for additional natural resources. Because current CITES controls have not applied worldwide to existing bows as finished products, musicians will be looking to their governmental authorities for immediate guidance on how to comply with the new commercial rules for their highly valued tools of the trade. Since COP19, our stakeholders have taken consistent action in response to Decision 19.252 that called for non-governmental organizations to sensitize producers and musicians regarding the status of the species. Our national and international music associations are opposed to illegal trafficking and dedicated partners in CITES compliance. We stand ready to engage with the CITES parties on implementation of the new terms of the Appendix 2 listing, and we offer our ongoing partnership on actions that can effectively contribute to the sustainability of the species. Thank you.
Thank you. I now have IPC France Europe.
Je vous remercie, Monsieur le Président, de me donner la parole. Je m'exprime au nom des membres de l'IPCI France-Europe, l'IPCI Germany, de la CSFI, de la CAFIM, du GLAF, de l'ADALFI et de la BVVM. Nous sommes extrêmement reconnaissants au Brésil d'avoir permis l'ouverture d'un groupe de travail dont les travaux ont conduit à une solution équilibrée dans ce dossier complexe et passionné. Nous remercions chaleureusement l'ensemble des parties engagées dans ces travaux, dont les conclusions mènent à la reconnaissance de la conservation renforcée du pau Boswellia equinata, à la possibilité pour les instruments de musique de déployer leur sonorité la plus raffinée grâce au pau Boswellia equinata et à l'opportunité aux artisans de poursuivre leurs arts dans un cadre légal consolidé. Notre secteur, depuis la COP19 de Panama, a travaillé sans relâche sur la feuille de route et les recommandations de celle-ci. Nous vous assurons que ce travail sera poursuivi très sérieusement dans le cadre des propositions du document COP20 comme 1.4. La lutte contre le commerce illégal reste une de nos préoccupations majeures. Nous sommes totalement persuadés que les travaux déjà entamés sur l'enregistrement des stocks et l'harmonisation de la traçabilité au niveau international apporteront les garanties demandées avec l'aide de nos autorités respectives. Nous soutenons sans réserve la demande du quota zéro du Pao Brasilia equinata à l'état sauvage et espérons qu'un travail constructif et collaboratif avec les autorités brésiliennes puisse être entrepris pour offrir au Pao Brasilia equinata un développement durable et un avenir lumineux à tous les petits violonistes, altistes, violoncellistes et contrebassistes de notre planète. Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you. And the last word to International Society of Violin and Bowmakers.
Thank you, Chair. On behalf of the International Society of Violin and Bowmakers, the International Alliance of Violin and Bowmakers for Endangered Species, the International Pernambuco Conservation Initiative USA, and the American Federation of Violin and Bowmakers, I'd like to express appreciation for the very significant and skilled efforts taken by Brazil and all the working group parties to achieve a consensus outcome. We'd like to reiterate and reaffirm our commitment to working with Brazil and other parties to halt the illegal trafficking of Pao Brasilia echinata and to create a sustainable future for the species. IPCI has held this commitment for more than 25 years and is continuing to work with trusted partners in Brazil today toward this goal. A path forward exists toward stockpile registration, traceability, the legalization of plantation-grown wood, and importantly, the continued use and reuse of the many existing bows created over the course of 240 years, whose use helps to suppress demand for this precious and irreplaceable wood. Bowmakers are committed to playing their part in fulfilling the promise of this pathway. We are appreciative of the fact that the revised annotation #10 will exempt non-commercial activity. The imposition of new permit requirements for commercial activity involving existing finished bows will affect a broad cross-section of musicians, makers, and retailers. The music sector is committed to helping its stakeholders move through the learning curve ahead. As we engage the sector, we will depend on close cooperation with CITES authorities to ensure understanding and compliance. We look forward to this partnership. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I would, on document I-97, Brazilwood, the committee agrees to the draft decisions on Brazilwood, Pao Brasilia echinata contained in document CoP20, COM1-4, as amended by Australia, Canada, the EU, United States, to the present document. No, as amended by these parties. It also notes the final report, Pao Brasilia echinata bows, fine-tuning traceability solutions contained in Annex 2 to the present document, and agrees to the deletion of decisions 19249 to 19253. So now we move to the proposal, the amended proposal as contained in document COP20 COM1-4 on the last page. So the amendment would be to retain the species in Appendix 2 with the following revision to annotation 10. All parts and derivatives except finished musical instruments, finished musical instrument accessories, and finished musical instrument parts for non-commercial trade only for the purpose of paid and unpaid performance, personal use, display, loan, competition, teaching, appraisal, or repair, provided that this does not change the ownership and that such a transport is not for sale, transfer, or disposal of the specimen outside the owner's usual state of residence. And with a zero quota for wild harvested specimens, source code W, traded for commercial purposes. So that's the amended proposal, and I open the floor for any comments from parties on that amendment. We also have heard some support, but I open the floor anyway. Not seeing anybody asking for the floor, I take it that the proposal, CoP20 proposal number 46 on Boswellia echinata is with the amendments proposed as contained in CoP20 COM14 is accepted by consensus. So now we move to COP20 COM15. It is the report of the group of parties that I asked to go away to look at the decisions in relation to the document 72 on identifying information on species at risk of extinction affected by international trade, and so the results of this group is contained in COM15. I would like to give the floor to the UK to introduce that document.
Thank you, Chair. The UK would like to thank the participants of the drafting group for their constructive and collaborative approach. Discussions allowed for the helpful sharing of views. These discussions culminated in the outcomes as outlined within ComDoc 5 of Committee 1. The updates to the document relate to three key themes as follows. The first, greater transparency regarding which information provided affects parties or regions and whether they have been consulted. The second, safeguards for where the information is not already publicly available. And finally, a mechanism for reviewing this new mechanism at COP21 if needed. Thank you very much.
Thank you, United Kingdom. So you have now the amended decisions before you, and I would like to go, as we did before, go through them one by one. We have 20AA directed to the Secretariat. I see Mexico.
Gracias, señor presidente. Parte del nuevo texto propuesto cambia la intención original de los borradores de decisión, pues se buscaba establecer un mecanismo para que las partes subieran directamente la información a la página web y no a través de la Secretaría, para evitarle esa carga de trabajo adicional, por lo que sugerimos enmiendas para regresar a la intención original. Continuaré leyendo en inglés. 20AA little b, it says develop an appropriate mechanism on the CITES website for the, we would delete Secretariat and substitute it with parties, to upload information, and we would delete submitted by parties, and then continue as is. Thank you, Chair.
So to be clear, you would then read develop an appropriate mechanism on the CITES website for parties to upload information, and where the information is not publicly available, restricted to parties such as.
Es correcto, presidente. Muchas gracias.
Maybe I would like to ask the working group their view on that proposed change, because at the moment we don't have a mechanism to allow parties to do that. So I open the floor for any comments on that suggested change. Well, not seeing any support for this amendment, I think we will stick with the result of the working group. I have the United States.
Thank you, Chair. As a party that participated in the working group, we believe that there may be parties present who may wish to respond to that. As of now, we personally as a party would support that amendment for Mexico, but there were intentions expressed by other parties in the working group.
Japan.
Thank you, Chair, and we are flexible on this matter, I mean, the proposal by Mexico. Thank you very much.
Okay, so if Japan is also in agreement with the amendment, then I think we will have this, we'll introduce that amendment. Seeing nobody else asking for the floor, then we can move on to Decision 20BB, directed to parties. Mexico.
Gracias, señor presidente. En línea con nuestra enmienda anterior al borrador de decisión 20AA, también editaríamos la decisión 20BB de la siguiente manera. Leo en inglés. 20BB(a), delete, share with the Secretariat information for possible inclusion, and substitute for upload on the CITES website as described, y continuamos conforme al texto. Gracias, señor presidente.
Can you say that once more?
Sí. On 20BB(a), delete the phrase share with the Secretariat information for possible inclusion and substitute for upload on the CITES website and the text as continues.
Okay, so it would then read upload on the CITES website, information for possible inclusion on the site. No. Okay, it would read upload on the CITES website, information for, no. So it would read upload information on the CITES website as described in Decision 20AA. Okay, good. We also have it, now I think we have agreed on all these decisions with the amendments as we have heard. But we also have to agree on the title of these draft decisions because they have been changed. They are now draft decisions on identifying information on species that may or may not be at risk of extinction and or threatened by international trade. So it is a new text, a new description of these decisions. China.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. We do not oppose Mexico's proposal for the revision of 20BB(a), and during the discussion, the working group, the parties share their concerns the website be uploaded of the documents by the party directly to the parties. So there should, based on some mechanism that's developed by the communities. So for the 20 BB, if the Mexico's revision were approved, and we thought that there's maybe some, conditions like compliance with the mechanism developed as set up in the 20AA. So that is the conditions. After we set up that mechanism, so that we can let the parties to upload the document. Thank you, Chair.
So you would want to have upload on the CITES website information in line with the mechanism developed under 20AA little b for possible inclusion on the CITES website. Is that what you want?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, that is what we want.
So China, then the text of 20 BB little a would read, upload information on the CITES website in line with the mechanism developed under Decision 20AA, paragraph B, relating to the methodologies, information, and so on. I think you agree, otherwise you would be asking for the floor, right?
Yeah, we agree. Thank you.
Okay, I don't see anybody opposing this change. Okay, thank you. And also no opposition to the change in the title. So I would conclude that in relation to document CoP20 Doc 72, the decisions as contained in CoP20 COM15 and amended by Mexico and China are accepted. And also that the committee agrees on the deletion of decisions 19186 to 19188. I have UNEP WCMC asking for the floor.
Thank you, Chair. This intervention is on behalf of UNEP WCMC, IECN, and the University of Oxford. We don't have any comments on the ComDoc itself, but as we didn't get an opportunity to contribute to the discussion yesterday, we would like to draw the party's attention to information document COP20 INF 53. This document outlines a global, systematic, and automated methodology to identify species likely threatened by international trade, based on information in the IUCN Red List. The preliminary findings reviewed nearly 60,000 globally threatened and near-threatened species and identified over 3,100 species as likely threatened by international trade. This includes 1,435 species not currently included in the CITES appendices. Over half of these are endemic species from 85 different range states. As a fully automated process, we believe that this approach could be run between each COP to help parties identify potential priority species for future CITES listing proposals or other management measures. The results of this analysis, as well as any future updates, are publicly available in an online data repository with a link provided in Information Document 53. We would be happy to work with parties, such as the UK, with an interest in these analyses in future, in order to ensure these results are available via the repository on the CITES website. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, UNEP WCMC. So I think we can close this agenda item, and with this we have finished our work in Committee 1. And I would like now to open the floor for any additional comments you want to make. Otherwise, I will then present my concluding remarks on the work in this committee. I think we have done a great job. We have had a lot of important issues to tackle. And I would like first to thank the technicians. They have allowed us to speak with each other at all, so that is very much appreciated. I also would like to thank the interpreters. They have allowed us to understand each other, at least verbally. Also, I would like to thank the parties and observers for their mostly short interventions, their will for compromise, to find a common ground, and for their willingness to really contribute and to come to good conclusions. So thank you very much. And finally, I would like to thank the Secretariat for its hard work before the meeting, during the meeting, and also for the work that is still to come after the meeting. So they have been doing a tremendous job. They have been supporting me a lot, as you have seen, when I was hungry, when I was wrong, going the wrong way. So thank you very much. So with this, I would close the session of Committee 1. So thank you very much.